All right, so another one of these kind of random topics that the Regents is just really fixated on is this concept that when we have a sine and a cosine of certain angles, they always have to come out to be congruent. So the overall rule that we need to know to do these questions, and they're going to be on the Regents exam every year. We're going to talk about them here and there, kind of mixed in throughout this unit. It's a really, really easy little concept. And the nice thing is the Regents really doesn't ever ask anything very complicated on it. It's pretty straightforward. But when the sine is equal to the cosine, the angles add to 90. So when I write down my reasoning for this, so, I could make you guys explain everything. Sine equals cosine, angles add to 90. If you can remember that, you can do any of these questions because what they're going to do is they're going to ask you something about a sine and a cosine. All right. So now there's a couple things that you can look at here. Number one, why is that true? So I did this little thing here. All right. And then more than likely, you've seen me do this in other problems where I've used two different angles and two different colors. So if I look at A, all right, highlighted in yellow are the opposite, the adjacent, and hypotenuse. We should know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite side from A is side BC. All right, side BC right here. And the opposite side, or the hypotenuse side for A is AC. So the sine of A is going to be BC over AC, whatever the heck those numbers are. All right, if I look at C and I highlight everything in blue, I didn't highlight the angle, which doesn't make sense, but now I will. All right, I highlight the angle in blue. I have opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent all labeled again. All right, so cosine of C, cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side from C is BC. Now, why is BC different sides? Again, we've talked about this a ton at this point. The names are based off of the angle that you're using. So in the first one, BC is the opposite because we're talking about angle A. All right, but then when we're talking about angle C, it's not the opposite anymore. It's the adjacent side for angle C. All right, the hypotenuse, that stays the same. The hypotenuse doesn't change based on the angle because the hypotenuse talks about the right angle. If you look at these two fractions, they are identical. This is why the sine of A is always equal to the cosine of C when those angles add up to 90. All right, because if the angles add up to 90, you know that the triangle does this. It doesn't look exactly like this triangle, but you know that the opposite and the adjacent sides switch when we're trying to do something like that. So that's what we're looking at here. There's a few different kinds of questions that you're going to see that we'll work through. Practice them. They're not hard. It's just can you remember the ruler.